Okay, it's so good to be here with everyone today. I see the chat going. Thank you, Danielle. I'll let you kind of get started and then I'm
Amazing.
happy
Well,
to
yeah,
speak.
awesome. Well, first of all, thank you everyone for attending. I know how precious time is, so I couldn't be more grateful for this awesome community. And I am so excited to present our guest speaker today, Tanaha Hairston. She's the driving force behind RISE, which is an amazing community dedicated to profit and purpose. So I won't go through her bio in great detail. I want to save as much time for her, of course, and for all of your questions today. But she is not just an expert in impact investing, but she's really a trailblazer who's found a sweet spot where financial gain meets social good. And she has just an awesome background that we all can learn from. And hopefully in her presentation, she'll touch on it a bit. But before we dive straight on in, I'll do a couple brief housekeeping announcements. So I'm happy to see everyone's using the webinar chat. Sometimes when it gets really busy and people's AI assistants are popping up, it's hard to catch all the questions. So the Q&A is a great place for you to put your questions, and then you guys can keep, networking and speaking amongst yourselves during the presentation in the chat. I will record the session, so tomorrow I'll be sure to follow up. I'll be sure to include ways that you can get a hold of Tanaha, learn more about her work in the RISE community. We'll include the recording. Hopefully you'll be able to stay till the end. We're scheduled to 2 today. One of the supporters of the MasterClass series is a company called Gift Suite. It's incredible. The CEO, Sangeeta Verma, is a female minority founder, and her company is a boutique gifting agency. So they really hand curate these exquisite gift baskets, and she supports sustainable and local businesses. So we'll be, of course, giving Tanaha one as a thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. And then we'll pick a lucky participant. So hopefully you can stay till the end. Other than that, we're just going to give as much time as we can for Tanaha. So like I said, I'm not going to read her bio. That was there in the webinar registration. Hopefully she'll share a little bit more about her story. But I just wanted to say, what really stands out and what I really admire her for is her commitment to empowering women. She really focuses on growth through education and collaboration. And I just admire that she's turned all of her extensive experience across, businesses, funds, real estates into a really powerful platform that helps bring about change. And she focuses on climate action, education, gender equality. And she's really done it all from inception to exit. She knows what it takes to run a successful venture. So I couldn't be more grateful for the opportunity to learn from you. And without further ado, we'll give a warm welcome. Thank you, Tanaha.
Oh, it's so good to be here today. Can you hear me okay?
You sound great to me. Anyone want to pop in the chat? Can everyone hear Tanaha? Let me see. Make sure everyone, yes, perfect. Thank you. And Tanaha, actually one question for you.
Yeah.
Do you want this to be really engaging? I don't want to interrupt any sort of flow. Do you want me to save the Q&A till the end? Or if relevant things pop up, do you want me to kind of moderate and ask as they come?
Yeah, sure. As relevant things pop up, absolutely, you can feel free to moderate. I'm going to go through as much as I can, and then yeah, absolutely, you can definitely share in there. And then you'll send out my LinkedIn, so feel free to I'll have the team kind of connect. So okay, ready?
We're ready. Let's rock.
Okay, good. All right. So I'm going to share this, and then do me a favor. I'm going to turn this into a presentation, and then you all tell me if you can see it or not as the presenter view. I want you to be able, no, wait, hold on. Let's try this again. View as the slideshow. Tell me if you can see it in that way.
Okay.
Can you see it as the whole slideshow?
I see it, but I see like the notes along the bottom ribbon.
Okay. presenter, no, I keep saying slideshow. No, no, no. Hold on. All right, let's try this again. I don't know why this is giving me, hold on one second. View, and then, no, sorry, guys. I'm like, normally that, why is it that when I go to do, it's not,
Do
it's
you
not,
not use slideshow there? See what
there we
happens.
go.
Ah, there
Okay.
you go. Awesome. Looks
Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay, so hi everyone, we got it. My name is Tanaha Hairston. It's so good to be here with you all today. Um, RISE stands for Rewarding Investment Smart Education. And welcome to our session on the fundamentals of building a high impact investment portfolio. As a private impact investor, right, an aggregator of impact community, my role is to help not only you, right, but as I speak, I also speak in a way that we can educate our families. And I have 3 teenagers. I actually will show them here in the deck because I really think that it's important, right, for us to not only educate ourselves, but to educate the next generation as well. So when I share things, I'm sharing them intentionally with the sole intent that we not only have the information for ourselves, but also we share it with the next generation. Everything that we do to me is about that. Okay. So today we're going to explore strategies as to how we can construct our portfolio for ourselves, for our families, that not only meet our financial objectives, but also contribute positively to the world. That is really so important. Impact investing is a wonderful tool for driving change. In this particular session, we're going to talk about the fundamentals of impact investing. We're going to talk about public and private. You'll hear me say this. I love private because, you know, how we can affect change. And then we're going to talk about the importance of high impact portfolios and discuss how all of these align with your personal impact goals. So by the end of this session, you should have a clear path to creating a portfolio that reflects your values and the aspirations. So then that way you can take that messaging and then take it back to your families, take it back if you have kids or nieces and nephews, and you can get them to thinking about their lives in the same way, because we can all be impactful. Okay, so the RISE mission, right? And we're an impact investing community. We believe in investing with purpose and profit. It's dedicated to connecting women investors, right? We speak to women, and I'll tell you why, worldwide. And the goal is to provide diverse, impactful investment opportunities, promote financial education. So it's all about fundamentally educating first, right? So we're not blindly giving anymore, right? Through a partner, not blindly giving through an advisor. We're not blindly just giving, you know, from philanthropy. No, we're educating. We're coming from this with a beautiful lens of education. So we learn and we're educating ourselves on what we're participating in. And then the goal is to foster this supportive environment, right, that allows us to make impactful collective investment decisions. So that's what we do, right? So we meet monthly virtually. We have a private impact circle, right, for accredited investors to where we share private deal flow. Number 1, I told you I love private opportunities. And then number 2, we have a back-end platform, right, to where you can actually see all of the different private opportunities. And it's both. I will tell you that since we really started this, the goal, right, if you look at a bell curve, you know, was really like we're speaking to older women, right? I would say we're mid to late 30s on up to early 60s. But then what we found outside of that bell curve is this audience that really just want information, meaning that they want to learn, meaning that they want to understand, and that they want to be educated themselves on how their investment and how they can not only grow the money that they have, the savings capital, right? I'll use those terms interchangeably, and I'm really doing that intentfully because I want this to be accessible. So wherever we're starting from, we can use that in an impactful way. Okay. So we always have to give these disclaimers, right? So any examples that I share, right? Understand, please, that I'm not giving you financial advice, but you should really have a team, right? One of the things that I think we do so well at RISE is we aggregate a community and an ecosystem, which is really important so that way not one person is taking you down this path, almost like a dark hole, and come and invest, and you never, there's no light into it, right? So that's one of the things that, we really wanted to change, is that, community things are discussed together, right? And so then that way you have a team to discuss things with, right? And when you have savings, we all know that that constitutes a team. So when you make investment decisions, right? You want to consult your team. We're not endorsing or recommending any specific investment strategy. Okay, so have to say that. So let's talk about what really is, obviously we want to start at a baseline, what really is impact investing. So, but before I even want to go there, right, I want to say something, and I want to preface it so that way, again, we can all be impactful. It doesn't matter what our wealth levels are. So it can start at a fundamental level. And I do share this, right? Because we can share this, with our kids. So it starts with our purchasing decisions, right? What we buy. So I'm going to take it even a step lower before I get into how to build a portfolio, because everyone can be impactful, and you can start with little things first. So it starts with what we buy, right? The kind of company that we support. At the next level, right? And anyone can do that. At the next level, our banks, what are they? We all know our banks are investing our money, right? At a fundamental level, but then how are they investing it? So that's the next step. Then step number 3, you have a little bit more savings. So maybe you start with, maybe some, microloans, or investing in public markets, whether you're doing it by yourself or whether you're doing it with your advisor. Everyone can be impactful, and we're going to talk about that. That's the public side of our portfolio, right? As wealthy, when we have savings, and we're going to draw that circle there, right? We all invest, in public markets and public equities, right? But then we also invest in private things. That's the way that looks. And that's what we really teach the community. And that's what we focus on. So, and then public equities, yes, but then we have more wealth, right? And more savings. Then we could really look at wonderful private opportunities. And that's how that works, right? And there's so many ways to participate. I particularly, right, I prefer private, even though I do both, of course, right? Because the fundamental business plan is built with one specific impact component in mind, right? As opposed to kind of fitting in ESG metrics inside a large, massive company, right? We're not fitting in these metrics. The private opportunity is built with a specific impact focus in mind. Okay. So I have been a private investor for a couple of decades now, a long time. I was a managing director of a private investing group about 13 years ago, and our only metrics, and everyone, by the way, I don't know who we have on our call here, but I'm so sorry. Nobody looked like me. Everyone, everyone looked like the opposite of me. Opposite, opposite skin color. So I was the one that looked like me. So I don't know who's on the call, but I'm so sorry, but it's the truth. So anyway, so here I was being the managing director of this private investing group, right? And the consensus there, and obviously all of us, everyone had, well, we were all accredited investors, but and we are finding and sharing deal flow. The emphasis at that time was really on financial metrics. And at the time I would say, let's do impact. And really, to be frank, my kiddos, this is a movement for us. And that's why I choose to focus on women, is because, when I was doing this 13 years ago, only men came and men invited other men. And I was like, where are the women? But to be frank, my now teenagers and, my son, who's about to go off to college, right? It's a mindset for us as women. And it's education that we have to have for us to participate, right? So that's why we're doing this now. But I will tell you that 13 years ago, there was no one who looked like me. So I started my career in computer science, in tech, and corporate. And as a real estate, while I was doing that, I was a real estate investor, and we started angel investing. We invested in venture capital really early on. I wrote, when I went back to get my MBA with a focus on finance, I wrote an article called Changing the Game of Venture Capital, which was published by the Journal of Private Equity. So I've been, I'm obviously I'm a fan of private investing and private opportunities. I've been an angel investor for a couple of decades now. I like all of these things, all of the private things, and specifically on real estate from an impactful point of view. I focus only on impactful real estate investing. So with a diverse portfolio, that's the approach that we want to have. And I'll talk about that here in a minute. But that's the background and the lens that we look through. And that's why I can say I like those particularly. Okay, so let's get started.
Hey, so excited.
Okay, so impact investing is a tool for driving great change. In this session, we're going to dive into the fundamentals of impact, the importance of high impact portfolios, and so you'll have a clear understanding. Step number one, and this is what we do on our backend platform. First and foremost, a high impact investment portfolio, right, will align with your financial resources and your deepest values. As investors, we have the power, right? We have the power to affect the change that we want in the world. And it goes just beyond generating wealth. So by carefully selecting investments where our goal is to address critical social and environmental challenges, that's how we make sure that our capital is driving positive change. That's how we go about doing that. The alignment is not just fulfilling our financial goals, but again, it's the values and the aspirations that we want to see in the world, and then that's how we start to think about things. So that's our first step. On our back-end community, right, platform, we literally ask first things first, like, what change do you want to see in the world, right? What are you passionate about? And then what we do is we go and align all of these wonderful private opportunities, right, that are a subset of these things, because it really starts with that. Okay.
I love it. What's your why?
What'd you say?
I said, I love it. What's your why? You know, it's like that guiding North Star, and just helps everyone focus in. And
yeah. So so it starts there. Now, obviously we do ask sub questions, right? Everyone's different, and we all have different levels of savings. It's wonderful. But then we do ask follow-up, right? Like, what are you really interested in? Is it high impact, moderate return, right? Then we'll share sustainable agriculture things, right? If it's really like high return, moderate impact, well, we'll share real estate debt, things. If it's, tax, whatever it is, if it's passive income, whatever it is, right? We've kind of aggregated. Those are the top things that, our community particularly is really interested in. And then, women on the impact side, the first tranche that you want to think about, the first thing that they care about, right, is obviously like gender equality, health, education, infrastructure, like water, sanitation type things, and then clean energy, right? So those are the top 5 for women. So then we just, kind of embed different opportunities into each of these investment concepts. Okay, so we want to look at companies and projects, right, that prioritize sustainability, social equity, and ethical governance. So it's not about just doing good, it's about recognizing where the future of, growth lies. So for us, we all know that capital has the influence to drive change. We all know that. Right. And then, hopefully we're teaching that to our kids as well. So, so companies that are forward thinking, right, that really have this adaptable, that adapt to a rapidly changing world, and they have an approach, to environmental, social, and governments, right? They're just better able to adapt because that is their approach. And so when we invest, here's the why. When we build a high impact portfolio, we are effectively investing in the future that we want, and we're ensuring that our returns are not only substantial, but sustainable. That's our why. I'm going to repeat that because that's super important. When we build a high impact portfolio, because the why drives everything always.
Yeah, always.
um, so by building a high impact portfolio, we are effectively investing in the future and the results that are sustainable and substantial. Okay, so that's the why, because that kind of drives everything. Okay, so that's our why. So then it's like, okay, here's what we care about, and then here's what we need, right? So that's really the order that I've started sharing so far. Our why, what we care about, but based on, here's where we're at financially, here's what we need. And I kind of mentioned those 4 things too. So that's how we start to frame things.
I love it. Some structure. And I'm sure there's so many voices and, so many opportunities. Before you dive into your next point, there was an interesting question that I'm curious about as well. You mentioned that you personally and other members of your group do impact investing in real estate. What is an example of like a high impact real estate investment?
Yeah, for sure. So we have in our community, and that's what we do, right? So it's really a subset of women with savings, women business owners, right? And then thirdly, right, women in finance along all the different sectors and tranches, right? They're run funds, starting funds, they run advisor, they have their own advisory practice, right? It's all the gamut, right? But from a real estate perspective, just yesterday with our impact circle, I'm going to give you 2 examples.
Yeah.
The first one that we just had yesterday, and this is high return, moderate impact. So what they do is they buy trailer home parks and they build them, but that in itself is not impact. But then what they do on top of that is then they educate and have a financial education program for the entire community. So
Amazing.
lower, right? So lower income, but then they turn around and they have financial education for the entire community. So like when we hear that at RISE, we're like, whoa, we're sharing your work, right? We're
Right?
sharing
Empowerment through education. I love
yeah,
it.
we're sharing your fund. The second example, right, is a fund, and they presented 3 months ago. So think multifamily building, but then 80% of the units were rent capped. So like I live in, I live in Scottsdale, right? Like I don't know. I even say to the kids, and we should all do this, right? When you live in a beautiful community, how is it that teachers, your teachers and the military and police, and how do they afford living in these communities that we live in? And so it just kind of starts the conversation, right? Just think of what those rent rolls must be. But okay, so we had a woman-owned real estate fund. So it checks 2 boxes. A, gender equality for us, right? Because she's a general partner of the fund. But then 2, what the opportunity was that we got to participate in as LP investors is 80% rent cap units. So we cap that under our we share that under our passive income tranche, right? And then also higher returns. So for ones that are seeking, accredited, yes, but they want passive income, yes. So that checks 2 boxes. And so what it does is they rent cap those units. So that way, like the pillars of our community that we so desperately need can really have access to a beautiful building, beautiful units, right? And so, we look at it, we look at the plan, RISE does due diligence on it. She's a member of the community as well, because a lot of the women like cross, to do
Yeah.
things because
Great way
we
to support each other's impactful work. It's great.
yeah, and you want a diverse portfolio, right? You just don't want to be all one, all one, all one. So, and they'll even say, just because, I have a real estate fund where I'm still invested in the public markets, I still angel invest, I still VC, right? So everyone's kind of doing, all of it. And I'll talk about the importance of diversity. And so those are 2 examples that we had present at our community, right? Just really recent. We can talk
Awesome.
about others. But those were 2 that have just been like within the past one was yesterday.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, that was yesterday. And so then what we'll do is we'll follow it, with like, so we make connections right? And then we walk alongside them. So because I said this is new for women, right? We a lot of times you have to walk alongside them if it's their first time investing in, these really private opportunities, which is why we do so much education. But if we do the education and we share the opportunities, then sorry, men, but women invest 90% of their paychecks back into their families and their communities, right? On average. So that's why we spend the time and the community on that, right? Now, anyone can see our private investment opportunities. And in fact, the energy fund that we highlighted, I'll get to that. I feel like we're jumping ahead a little bit, but they were the other one that presented yesterday. That was an opportunity that was presented by a man and a woman yesterday. And so that was one that we had for even non-accreds, accredited investors. So I can get into that definition if we need to, but that was one that we had for non-accreds where you can invest very little amounts starting at like $100, right? And then that was a passive income opportunity where you can start at a lower amount. So we're looking at, those because as I mentioned before, like if you look at the bell curve, again, we were really older, with savings, but then now we're finding that outside that bell curve, we need opportunities that we can share. So now we're segmenting our platform to, opportunities where you don't have to be accredited, and then opportunities where obviously, you do. Those aren't my rules, those are the SEC rules. Okay, let's keep going.
I love it. Something for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, we talked a little bit about the why of impact portfolios. And we're going to talk about, public versus private. Um, and I'll get into that later. So, with impact investing, it's really about being intentional. It's about like how we measure. I've shared with you a little bit about that. The reason why I like certain ones better than the other. It's about having that financial return. And it's about, really kind of combining both, right? So what is our intention? And obviously our intention should be to generate positive social and environment impact alongside all of these other things. So I put this here intentionally because impact investing means something different to everyone. Now you can say impact, values aligned investing, or however you want to say it, right? It doesn't really matter, but it means essentially the same thing. But I do want to highlight that we all care about different things in the world, and that's okay. That's completely and 100% okay, right? So I may care about gender equality, right? I may care about education, clearly, right? But then, we have others that are just as passionate about like our environment, right? And reducing carbon emissions, right? And that's okay. And we have others that are just as passionate about making sure that there are affordable units and housing for everyone. And that's really okay. We start by thinking about what's important to us. And we always start by saying, pick 2 to 3 that you want to, change, and then start having these family discussions, right? I will, kind of bring that back around. But this is me. These are my 3 teenagers, young adult. Yeah, my son's 18. He's a committed baseball player. He leaves, he's gonna be playing baseball in college. He leaves next week. But I'm sharing this because this is our why. Again, this is my why. And then you ask yourself, like, what is your why, right? What do you care about? Like, why do you want to spend your time on earth doing this, right? And it's about our time. I feel my time is finite. You may not feel that way, but because my time is finite, we want to think about what we're leaving for them. Okay. So I really intentionally put that there. They're now young adults and teens. Um, but then we can all have a part in planning for our future generation. We really can. And we can decide what we want that to be. We really can. Okay, so I wanted to show those 2 things because that always just affects our mindset and where we're coming from and the why, right? Because these are things that we're learning. And so in the spectrum of life, there are so many things that obviously can grab our attention. But if we start with our North Compass on why, then that really helps us. Okay. So the spectrum of capital, it ranges from traditional investments that focus on, financial returns, obviously, to philanthropy. Anyone who knows or you kind of watch the media, I do believe that impact investing is a new way. And I do a lot of work on that because I believe that it's the educated way. I believe it's the empowered way. And if you're educated, then no one, then you're protecting yourself, because you are an educated person with your capital and what you're participating in. And you can cyclically continue to do things. Obviously, not everything, but, learning impact investing, I do feel like this is the new way. I don't believe in blindly giving money to anyone. I don't believe in blindly. I believe in coming from an educated mindset. And then I think that the empowerment of our communities and those that we're touching, we want to empower them to be educated as well. So, so what does this do? What prioritizes social good, right? And impact investing sits really between the two extremes. It combines elements of both, right? The financial returns, the philanthropy. As private investors, we operate in the space of direct investments and impact funds, where we can have greater control over the outcomes, and then also ensure that investments align with specific goals. What is the visual? What do I mean when I say visual spectrum? So on one end of the spectrum, we have traditional investing, where our only focus, right, like I said, 13 years ago, the only focus was on financial returns. Here, the decisions are typically driven on the public markets by market performance with little or no consideration towards social or environmental impact. So the spectrum ranges, right, from approaches to investing from purely financial motives that are driven by a desire to teach positive and social environmental change. ESG integration, as we move along the spectrum, we encounter ESG. So that's environmental, social governance integration. This approach incorporates ESG factors into our investment decision-making progress with the goal to identify companies that are not only financially sound, but are also responsible in their actions, right? So, I mean, we could literally, I did some media on this the other day. We can look and see, if we care about gender equality, right? What are their conditions for women? Do they have leadership on the team, right? I'm just going to use that as an example because it's easy.
Right.
Everybody can just get it. So it's fine. Impact investing, as we reach further along, right, in this slide here, impact investing is the approach goes beyond, right, just ESG by actively seeking investments that generate measurable social and environmental benefits in addition to financial returns. Impact investing is where we really start to see a stronger alignment between capital and the desire to create positive change. Okay, and then philanthropy, right? The far end of the spectrum, we find philanthropy. So our primary goal is to give back to society, and we just don't expect any financial return. It's just driven by the pure desire, right, to address social and environmental challenges. So that's how that works. So from a public and private perspective, right? And again, as wealthy people, when we have wealth or savings or whatever you want to call it, right? We're diverse in, public and private investments. And so, we'll go more into that. In the public markets, ESG integration, I touched on that, but that really is the key strategy, right? They're embedding an ESG strategy and it's the key strategy. So that's where our mindset is, where we're investing in publicly traded companies that are recognized for their strong ESG practices. Those investments allow and align with companies that are making strides in environmental sustainability, social equity, and ethical governance. So again, that's when we invest in public companies and they're just they're fitting the ESG into their overall strategy. Thematic investing, right? So that's where it's another approach to public markets. It's where they focus on specific themes like clean energy, gender equality, or sustainable agriculture. The themes reflect, our values in areas where we believe investments can make a significant impact. So, for example, let's give two that we're gonna bring into RISE, to put on our platform. So there is on the public side, there is and it's an ESG fund. So the fund specifically championed by a woman, but they invest specifically in companies that are run and led by women, right? And there's data that they have, and we'll put all this data on our platform from them directly because you would just participate in that yourself. But that is a way of having thematic investing. I'm just giving you an example, right? The theme there is championing gender equality, and that's the theme of the public ESG fund. That's an example that, we're going to bring into the RISE platform and we'll allow them to share. And that has low minimums again, because we're finding outside that bell curve that here are these, ones that are like, oh, we want to invest. We may not be wealthy, but we want to invest, so it's like, okay, by the way, we function as a top of the line ecosystem in community. And then, we do mentorship. So if they want to invest, right, in public markets, then, either you do it by yourself or you do it with an advisor, or if you want an impact-based planner, then we'll connect you, because obviously, as I was sharing, that third tranche that we have at RISE, we can connect. We don't actually invest for anyone. That's not what we do. We provide an ecosystem. We educate and we explain all of the different ways that you can participate in impact. And then we provide and connect you with those channels to where you can participate in impact, depending on, again, what your goals are, what change do you want to make in the world, and then what level of savings and wealth do you have. That's really, those are the two things. So if you reach out, at the end of the week or next week or whatever, and we give you access to the platform, just that's how we structure it, right? What change do you want to make? And then what do you need? Because that's how things are structured. Okay, let's talk about private investments. Private investments is we have the opportunity to engage in more deeply. And I said, I love these because it's about putting capital into private companies or projects that are directly addressing social and environmental issues. So we do share wonderful startups, right? Like we actually had a lot of interest in this and investing in this. It was wonderful. 80% food waste turned into beautiful luxury leathers, leather intent from Dolce and Gabbana. She's going to run our yearly RISE trip, not next year. Next year is at Blackberry, but the year after that, it'll be in Italy, where we do the sustainable manufacturing tour and learn about sustainable manufacturing plants. Next year is sustainable agriculture. But anyways, so we had a lot of interest in that, and we just made the connections, right? So that was a company where, think startup, right? But taking large amounts of food waste, because leathers are traditionally covered by plastic. Now it's her company. We, again, just build the ecosystem to support that. So that's an example of direct impact in a business, right? That is, talk about measuring impact. like these things are built from the ground up that way. Then let's go to venture capital, right? So that would be an example of the direct impact. And then let's go to venture capital. So with that being said, like we bring in, we just had an impact venture capital fund where the theme is clean energy. So it's thematic, right? There's the thesis there is that. And then also, with the theme of, gender equality. So that's where now, I don't know where we're at here, but something I always explain to our community is FYI, you can either DIY. I love things simply. Do it yourself, which means that you can be an angel investor yourself, right? I did start that way. Or you can have it done for you, which means I'm going to invest with a fund. So it's the same concept in general. Like as an angel investor, I'm investing in early stage companies that I think that are innovative solutions to global challenges. Or I can invest with a fund, right? We've done both. We share both. We share it all. Or you can have someone else, you can invest alongside a venture capital fund where they're selecting companies, right, that are targeting innovative, challenges, innovative solutions to global challenges. So you can participate either way. It really doesn't matter, how you want to participate. Do you want to have really direct involvement, right? Or do you want to be more hands-off? That's why I really use those accessible terms, because everyone can get it when I say things that simply. And it applies to everything, right? Obviously, you can, invest by yourself. You can have it done for you through an impact-based planner. it applies real estate. You can do it by yourself, or you can invest with a real estate fund. We typically share funds, right? We Access Point, right? We typically do that, but we also do share companies as well. So we share, I believe that women need to know, and actually we all, because I talked to my son Jackson about this, but we all really need to know all the ways that we can participate, because it does give you a North Star. It helps you to know, like, okay, here's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Lastly, private equity, right? This is a more hands-on approach with, established companies, and it guides them to greater impact while also driving financial returns. So this is where we can influence the business strategies that ensure financial success, and, a positive impact is achieved. Okay, so we touched on this, but what aligns with us? What are our impact goals? I'm going to toggle back and forth here because I think this is really important. And I've already shared the top 5 that women really, really like. But you can just kind of scroll those. But this is, we took these 17 when we built out our platform, and we picked the top ones that we know that, women have been wanting to see, or we watch what lights them up or what they care about, right? That's how we did that. So you go back to that. And again, this is step 1, define your impact goals. What do you care about the most? And then, as with anything, as business owners, as, corporate leaders, obviously we do the same. These principles still apply. We set goals. So, and what our objectives are. Okay. And then these are just some visual images here, just so that we can start to think about, and then ask it, like, what moves us? Like, is it really having clean water? At our next impact circle, right, we're going to have, a clean water and sanitation fund. So, it's whatever it is when we look at these images, is it clean energy and, not contributing, to carbon emissions? Is it, education? Is it just, so when you look at images like this, because I include these really intentionally, you think about how you want to affect things and what change you want to make. Okay, so diversification across asset classes. Let's get to that. If we're on the public side, right? I've already if I can draw a circle, right? And you can even do that. And I share this as wealthy people, or if you're managing portfolios, right? Then we all know this, we want to be diverse across different asset classes. And that's really the way we start. And then depending on what the goals are, right? Is it growth? Is it income? We do these same things in impact, the same concepts, the same thought processes. It's the same thing in impact. And we share all of these. Now, obviously, when it comes to, public investments, this is the cornerstone of a diversified portfolio. Again, this is, where the public companies have invested in ESG metrics, right? Some are more liquid. Oh, and you also, obviously, we think about that too, right? So specifically with private, how liquid do we need the investment to be? When do we need the capital? But these things are really all the key to having a well-rounded portfolio. I've really, kind of touched on these, but, from your portfolio, you think about what you need, right? Is it growth? Is it the income on the private side, right? Do you want to do it yourself? Do you want to have it done for you? Do you want income, right? These are things that are specific to you that you start thinking about, and then how you want to diversify your own portfolio. And that's really how you view it. So, I want to reiterate this point, because I never like people feeling that things are unachievable, because we can all affect change. So again, I want to reinforce this point, right? We can all be impactful, right? By our purchasing decisions, through our banks, through public markets, the small amounts, like we just presented an energy fund. You can start at $100, right? And then they have, it's so approachable. Public and private, there's approachable opportunities. And then as your savings goes up, right, then we have wonderful opportunities that you can participate in. Think VC funds, think more startup, right? You can do more as, your savings grows, from an impact point of view. So, what are some examples of these types of things? Well, obviously, there's I specifically just kind of shared, we have an ETF that's really gender focused. You can do the same thing with clean energy. We actually have an investment opportunity that was just presented where women-owned fund that and it's an investment right in the operating company, but the goal will be is there's this amazing technical analysis that she's done with the top companies that are really, actually moving the needle with clean energy. And she's amazing. And so that really focuses on thematic investing. And we just really want to ask ourselves, how accessible do we need our capital, our money? How liquid do we need it to be, right? Are we going to have a call option on a venture cap, on a private opportunity? How liquid do we need it to be? And then, how exposed. So these same things apply, and these same themes can apply to whatever funds that we're looking for on the public side. On the private side, again, this is what we really aggregate and what we like, because these things are aligned with your goals. We've talked about examples of these and how you go about doing that. So I've talked about from the two private examples on real estate, but it can also go to essential housing units, right? To strengthen communities where we're getting passive income, we're getting tax benefits. So that stable cash flows, tax benefits, appreciation. We can do that even there, even on the real estate side. On the sustainable agriculture side, I mean, that's not what this is about, but we have a whole theme around why we need to participate in sustainable agriculture. There's so many ways to be impactful. Those funds tend to be a little bit lower in terms of return, but the impact that you're making, because today's soil uses up 70% of our fresh water, right? Things like that you can start to move the needle on with sustainable agriculture funds. And we have like 6 of them that we bring inside RISE, right? So again, I want to go back up to where your savings are at. If you really want high impact, that's game changing, that's changing the world, then that's when we have these sustainable agriculture funds and opportunities that you can participate in. And we really focus on the why. So we share, we kind of phase these things into 3 videos. So we talk about, let's just take the ones here on the screen. We explain what is venture capital. We explain the financial and the impact metrics of Impact VC, and then how you explain it to your kids, right? So we have like 3 short kind of free videos on our platform because it's so important. And then the same thing with sustainable ag, right? Like why the whole world needs to know like why we need sustainable agriculture. So what is it? Like the why, because we always start with that, and then the impact benefits, and then the financial benefits of sustainable ag, and then how simply you explain those to your kids. All of these things on the private side, we really create like these short videos around because it's important for us to understand that. Okay, so let's keep going. And then we have all of these options there. So 13 years ago, when I wrote that article that was published by the Journal of Private Equity, I'm so embarrassed to say there was not one woman. The whole thing was changing the game of venture capital. There was not one woman that I had profiled. I'm so embarrassed. And then now, with RISE, we've made a concentric effort to kind of aggregate like all of these different, venture capital funds that are championed by women, but also, really focus on really thematic opportunities, right? So for example, as business owners, we all know this, you do business with people you know, you like, and you trust, right? Like, okay, I'm going to use Danielle as an example, right? So the first time you're kind of just connecting, getting to know, but then as you get to know a person over time, you decide, oh, I like them. They have similar values as me. They're concerned about the things that I'm concerned about. It's the same thing with the investing world. We invest in things that we know and we understand. And so because of that, who is most likely, right? If you care about something, who's most likely to invest in, and we need capital to have these companies to grow, who's most likely to invest in, let's call it, breast cancer or cervical cancer, the fourth, things that really affect women, right? Or other solutions, right? Like that. We have a mixed audience, so I'm not going to go into detail here right now. But this is why, if you care about something and we need the capital to grow, that's why we need to drive the capital by investing in those opportunities, because we know and we understand it and we have a passion for that. Whatever it is. And so obviously all of these things can vary, right? We can invest in the public markets and the thematic fund, and then we're just, really kind of watching the returns and we're watching the impact. We can do that low level of effort. Same thing for a venture capital fund on the private side or on a real estate fund, really low level of effort once we've done our research and our due diligence, right? Once we've done that, well, then, that's a lower level of effort. So we always kind of categorize things. But if you've just sold your business, you want to be involved and you want to have a hands-on approach, right? Then maybe if you're maybe if you're passionate about, clean energy projects or companies, then maybe you want to have direct involvement there, or maybe you want to have direct involvement, in a sustainable agriculture venture. Or if you're working and you're building something else that you are, really passionate about, maybe you don't. Maybe you want to do the upfront due diligence, right? And aggregate what we share, because that's what we do. And, look at that and then decide to participate, but let someone else kind of take the plan and execute it over X amount of time and and hold the capital, and then you have a return at the end. So whatever it is, we want to think about what we want our level of effort to really be, in terms of both on the public side and on the private side. And then with the same thing with risk, right? So obviously, impact investments, have different, different moderate risk factors. I'm not talking here necessarily about some of the public opportunities like the public ESG funds, but even on the private side, right? So clean energy projects, right? Those tend to have low risk, low and affordable housing initiative. They tend to have really just low moderate risk. On this side, social impact startups obviously are going to carry a more moderate level of risk. So we want to think about where we're at from a risk perspective, and we want to think about what's the capital. Obviously, here, I'm talking to our ones in our community that have savings. We want to think about what we want to put into a project or something. So, yesterday it started at one opportunity started at 100, but then the fund started at 100,000, right? So it just depends on what our cash that we have that we need in order to start. So we want to think about that, whatever that is. So, whatever our available funds are, and then whatever our risk tolerance is, and then that's how we start. I've talked a little bit about the hold periods. This is more, again, towards private markets and opportunities. And then for each opportunity that we share specifically on private, they will tell us, what our liquidity is, how accessible our cash is to us. And then we just understand the timelines. Some of our impact financial planners will even kind of create their own portfolios, and then, they'll kind of aggregate some of the opportunities as well. Again, same thing, right? We're looking at the tax opportunities and tax credits that we have. So we tag these. Do you need is it tax credits or tax deductions, right? What's the tax benefits that we need? Because this is really important to RISE women, right? These are things that we care about. Maybe how we're structuring things, how we're communicating to the next generation. What are the tax things? These are things that we care about, that I get, a lot of outside of the impact understanding and opportunities. Outside of that, those are the other things, right, that we, we'll plug in. That's what gets the RISE women's, that's what's important to them outside of this. So once they have identified their portfolio and what they're going to participate in and what change they're going to make in the world, then it's okay, let's talk about this. And then, then we kind of help them put together a team for that. Okay, let's talk about this. All right, Danielle, we have like 4 minutes.
I know. I was like, we're gonna need like a part 2. This is just so, I haven't wanted to interrupt with any questions because I'm like hanging on your every word. It's just so powerful. So, I mean,
yeah, so I'm gonna maybe we'll come back to this. I've talked about a few case studies, so that's okay. This one is really about like how you start to think of your own family as a family office, right? Depending on whatever. If you're a accredited investor, right? Everyone should we should be doing this with our families and kind of talking about this together. So this is really more like a practical example of how we start that conversation as a family, right? My dad from a young age used to pay cash flow with us. I don't know if anybody here on this call knows what that is, but we really need to start those, these kind of discussions, and they're listening, especially with, the teenagers. So, we're running low on time. We're running low on time, but again, just key points, right? Goals, how we're going to allocate it, how we're going to source. I was sharing that we share a lot of that from, a public, how we measure impact, from a private perspective. Those things are actually built directly in the business plan, how we manage the risk. And then, we want to think about that. Um, Actionable steps, start with your impact goals. We look at public and private. Again, we're the ecosystem for great private things. We're an impact network. So just connect with me on LinkedIn. And then my email is Tanaha at risethemovement.com, Tanaha. Actually, just do hello, because then the team will get it, by the way. Hello at risethemovement.com. And then we will get you, if you want to get access to that platform, we'll get you access to that so that you can start to see things. It was great to be here with you all today. This was wonderful. I really appreciate it. And my goal, right, is for all of us to be impactful, however we decide to participate, from a lower level to a larger level, and that we all talk to our kids about this, and or niece and nephews or whoever that you have, and we make these, more family discussions. And thank you for your time, and everyone have a great day.
Thank you so much, Tanae. And for everyone who had questions, I'll send them to her team and I'll give the email list so, we can address any of those. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. This is just awesome information. I love that you make it accessible to women at any level. And then that encouragement to shift the mindset to passing the baton to our children. It's just so empowering.
Yeah. Great. It was great to be here with you today. Thank you, Danielle. And you
Thank you
guys
so
have a
much.
great and wonderful day. And I'm happy to, maybe we'll do another one next year, and then we'll
There
cover
we
the
go.
second part, because it is a lot.
It
So
is a lot.
bye,
Awesome.
everyone. Have a
Thanks,
good day.
everyone.